Okay, guys, we got to talk about a very important topic today, and that is how to scale the size of your positions, meaning, make your position potentially bigger or smaller. And I see a lot of people doing this the wrong way, especially when it comes to trades like undefined risk trades, like selling a short put, for example. Like you're beginning to run the wheel, you sell a short put, and some people, want to receive a bigger credit. And so what they'll do is they'll sell multiple contracts of a put, and that is not really the way you should size up a position. Let me actually switch over to my trading platform. Of course, I'm using TASTYTRADE as my broker. If you guys want to sign up for TASTYTRADE, I do have an affiliate link. I never mention it. I do have an affiliate link in my show description as well. So if you guys are considering opening an account at TASTYTRADE, I'd appreciate it if you actually use that link. But let's show you how to actually size a short put appropriately. And I'm already on SPY, so let's actually use SPY. I'm going to go into the options chain here. I'll go to the 43-day cycle. I don't currently have a position in the 43-day cycle, so this will be good. Let's say I sell this 10 delta put, way out here, way out of the money. And what new options traders will sometimes do, they'll see this credit here. I'm receiving a credit of 163 for this short put. And some options traders will be like, you know what? That's not a normal credit that I like to receive. I like to receive $3 every time I do an options trade as far as a credit. So instead of doing the one contract here, what I'll do is I'll bump it up to 2 contracts. That way I receive the 163 credit times 2. So I now receive a credit of 326, but I've also doubled my risk on this trade because now instead of having one naked option, I have 2 naked options. Or if you're running the wheel, now you're at risk of having to accept assignment of 200 shares rather than just 100 shares, right? That is an extremely large amount of risk you just added, for an extra $1.63 in credit, and you didn't need to do that. You could, instead of doubling up the contracts, you scale with delta. So instead of selling this 10 delta put, bump it up to where if you wanted that $3 credit, in this case, bump it up to, instead of a 10 delta put, you sell a 20 delta put, you receive your $3 credit, and now you're still only one naked option in, meaning if you had to take assignment, you only have to take assignment of 100 shares of SPY at this point. You never want to go way out of the money. I see way too many people. They go and sell these way out of the money options, 10 delta, 5 delta, 3 delta, options, especially on things like SPY and ES. And their thinking is it's so far out of the money, I'll almost never face a situation like assignment. I'll never lose on the trade. It'll be like, a 2% chance I actually lose on these trades. Well, that 2% of the time will happen about 2% of the time. And when that happens, on those way out of the money options, in order to receive a decent credit, you probably sold, multiple contracts. Instead of one contract of a 20 delta put, you might have went 5 deltas and sold 5 contracts. And that's insane because when the market crashes, and the market does crash on occasion, it really doesn't matter what put you sold as far as what delta. It could be a 30 delta, a 20 delta, it could be a 2 delta put. When the market crashes, say 20%, like imagine like COVID, where the market went down like something like 30% over a couple of weeks. It didn't matter what put you sold. You were going to be in trouble on any delta put you sold. The person that sold 130 delta put, though, he was in a lot better situation than the person that sold 10 3 delta puts, right? Because again, it's the number of contracts that will end up killing you. It will blow up your account. So always try to reduce the number of contracts if you can. If you can scale by increasing the delta of the trade before you start increasing the contracts. Now that's with undefined risk trades, so short puts, short calls, short strangles. What about defined risk trades? Well, I see people sizing these incorrectly as well. So if I go back to SPY, for example, let's put on a defined risk trade. For example, everybody loves put credit spreads in SPY. So let's sell a put credit spread in SPY. I'll sell this $5 wide put credit spread. So in this example here, I sold the 34 delta put. I bought the 28 delta put. It's a $5 wide spread. So it's a small trade, right? We're risking about $400 to make about $100. And some people will see that and say, well, yeah, that's a small trade. Let me just buy 10 contracts, because instead of risking 400, I want to risk 4,000. So let me bump it up, and so they'll sell 10 contracts of this. Why pay 10 times the commission on something by taking an extra 9 trades when you could have just made the spread bigger. So instead of doing 10 contracts of the $5 wide spread, why not just make the spread bigger? So take that long put and move it out. Instead of doing a $5 wide spread, do a $10 wide spread. Now your max loss, instead of you risking 400 to make 100, you're risking 800 to make about 200, right? You've essentially doubled the size of the trade by making the spread twice as wide. And of course, I could go even bigger. I could go make this spread a $20 wide spread. That's a really wide put credit spread. And you can see my max loss now, $1,700. My max profits, $300. And the further you start putting that long put out, the more this short put really starts acting kind of like a naked put. So really, you can actually make these defined risk trades. If you want to take more risk, you can actually make that long put so far out of the money that short put really almost acts like a naked put, right? It still has a defined risk element. It still drastically reduces your buying power. You can see the buying power effect even on the 20 wide put credit spread, right? The buying power effect is still only $1,700. Your max loss is always the buying power reduction on a defined risk trade. So that's really how you should think about increasing the size. And if you want to scale up your defined risk trade, so your credit spreads, your iron condors, let's actually do an iron condor. Let's do it on a smaller product so I don't have to deal with so many strikes. I'm going to go to Amazon. I don't currently have an Amazon position. I'll go to 43 days. So let's imagine I'm going to do a standard, one standard deviation iron condor, $5 wide on each side. In this case, I'm risking 370 to make 130, right? But that's a really small trade for, if you got a bigger account, that's not a very big trade. And you're like, well, you know what? I could sell 5, 10, 20 contracts of this iron condor and pay a ton of commission for doing so. But why not, instead of doing the $5 wide long wings, make it $20 wide long wings. And now you've turned this into a much bigger trade. Right now, you're risking $1,700 to make $300, and you did that without having to increase the number of contracts at all. Not only that, you also do increase your probability of profit by widening the wings on these spreads. If I go back to the $5 wings, you can see probability of profit is 64. But when I increase the size of the wings, now we've gone to $20 wide on each side. Pop went from 64% to 69%. And the reason is because the further out you put those long wings, you have a little bit more extra breathing room on each side of that iron condor. So your pop will increase the wider you make the wings on your credit spreads and iron condors. So that's actually a really nice bonus. Not only is it better to widen the wings on your credit spreads just to make the trade bigger, but it also improves your chances of actually winning on the trade. So there you have it. Just a very short lesson today, guys. I just wanted to point that out. Again, I see too many people that are trying to scale their trades. They're trying to get a position to be a smaller position or a bigger position, and they're doing it totally the wrong way. They're doing it by the number of contracts rather than just adjusting the deltas of some of their option positions. Because if you just change the deltas, you make the deltas larger or smaller, that's going to take care of the size for you. And it's always, especially with the undefined risk trades, please, this is one of the things that does blow up people's account. This is one of the things that gets people in trouble. All the horror stories of people that tried to trade and end up losing everything, it usually started with undefined risk trades where they had too many contracts on. So always keep the number of contracts down if you can. Just some food for thought. Peace, guys.